Hi everyone, Swati and Vinayak from the Jam Club. Welcome back to our channel where we dive deep into the world of whiskies and spirits from across the world. So this video is all about this award-winning whiskey and we will discover whether this whiskey is worth rupees 1 lakh. And before we get started with reviewing the whiskey, Swati, why don't you tell us what makes this whiskey so special?
So this whiskey is special for two reasons, Vinayak. First, it was launched as a limited edition whiskey around Diwali last year. And second, it ended up winning the best whiskey in show at Whiskies of the World Award in 2023.
So Swati, as you mentioned, this whiskey won Best in the Show Whiskey Award last year. And for our viewers' benefit, can you tell us a bit more about this award that Indri won last year?
So how Whiskies of the World works is, they invite nominations from across the world in various different categories of whiskeys. So there'll be bourbons, there'll be single malt scotch, blended scotch, etc., etc. And through a rigorous process of blind tasting, there is one whiskey which is awarded the best in that particular category. And then all the whiskies which have won best in their respective categories are again pitted against each other. And through a blind tasting, the best in show whiskey is awarded, which is the award that Indri ended up winning.
And I'm guessing, like all awards, this is also a blind tasting that happens.
Yes. All whiskies go through blind tasting across all categories.
Interesting.
So Vinayak, do you think we should uncork this 1 lakh rupee whiskey and taste it?
And without wasting any further time, let's get down to business. Right, Swati?
Yes.
And taste this very special whiskey.
Absolutely. I've been waiting for a very long time to taste this.
Yes. So let's wait no further. Swati, what do you think about the color on this whiskey?
Copperish? Copper gold.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? I would have, given it has been matured entirely in PX, I would have expected a bit more of that amberish reddish tinge to it, which you normally get in a lot of sherry whiskies.
Yeah, that would also depend on the duration. And
But
if it's a first fill cask or a second fill, we wouldn't know that. So
Agree, but this is entire maturation that has happened in PX
Sherry.
Sherry. So, anyways, I mean that doesn't tell us anything about the
anything,
quality of the whiskey. It was just an observation. Let's have a nose. Peat,
actually, even while pouring, I could just get the peat.
lots of peat. Now I'm getting some berries.
I'm getting some blueberries kind of a note.
Yeah, bit of blueberry, cranberry,
Yeah.
some figs as well. You know, also the peat is not the medicinal peat. I'm not getting, so let's say for our viewers, when I say medicinal peat, it's not your Lafroy sort of a peat. I'm getting more like a...
Lagavulin kind of a peat.
Yeah, more, this is, sort of leaning a bit towards...
It's a subtle smoky...
No, it's not subtle. The smoke is...
No, I'm saying the profile is not a Lafroy or an Ardbeg. It is more softer smoke.
There is smoke is very prominent on this one. But anyways, let's have a sip of this whiskey.
So this is what, 58%?
Yeah, the one that won the award was 60%
60%.
ABV. The one that has been, or that was selling in Gurgaon was 50% ABV.
Yeah.
And the one that we have is 58% ABV.
Yes.
Intensity is definitely
the
there.
58% is very
It's there.
evident.
I think we should add
some
some water because initially while I'm getting that peat, some brown sugar and some, there's fig sort of a sweetness, but the alcohol is a bit too pronounced right now.
Yeah.
So I think let's add some water
Yes.
and see how the whiskey opens up.
And I think the sweetness is quite intense.
Yeah, and also interestingly, we are using a water that is a birch water. The name of this brand is called Birkentree. This water is extracted from trees that are over 250 years old. It makes for a great companion for your whiskey without diluting the flavors.
Now I'm getting some spicy notes as well, like very subtle spices.
I'm getting a bit of pepperiness to it actually.
Yeah. And of course the smoke has mellowed down.
Do you get a bit of a toasted or roasted almond sort of a note?
I am getting some almond or hazelnut kind of a note to
Some
it.
chocolate as well now? Or more like cacao, not chocolate, but a bit of cacao sort of a note?
Not as prominent.
Let's see how it has changed on the palate. So one interesting thing that Birkentree has done, it remains as flavorful.
Yeah.
And has reduced the alcohol burn and without diluting the texture of the whiskey. Like regular water, makes the whiskey thinner. So I think that's what.
Right.
Now-
But this is like a completely different whiskey. After adding
Yeah,
water
I think it's a lot more approachable. Now the
Yeah.
flavors have
Yeah.
come out really nicely.
nicely. I think the sweetness earlier was very intense.
And even the smoke.
Smoke was very overpowering, I think, towards the end.
Okay.
But now it's become more harmonious.
Yeah.
I would say it's a very comfortable smoky flavor.
It has now, like, after adding water, I'm definitely getting those dried fruits notes on the whiskey, bit of chocolate as well. The peat is there throughout, adding for a nice complexity. Like, while, yes, you're getting bursts of, let's say, brown sugar, some desserty notes, some dried fruit notes, but peat is always there.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm giving you the complexity. So I just now observed the sort of legs
Okay.
of the whiskey, like it's trickling down so slowly of the surface of the glass. It's like, I mean, it is.
It's a dense whiskey.
It is, and also the palate, you feel that heavy
that
mouthfeel.
oiliness and
Rich
that
mouthfeel.
waxy texture. You know what, I've always said that peated whiskies finished or matured in sherry cask is like my favorite or go-to style of whiskies. And more often than not, a lot of distillers tend to get it wrong. Either the peat is overpowering or the sherry is too intense, so you cannot always balance the two strong flavors together. But I think what's very beautiful about this is that after adding a few drops of water, I think it just, all the flavors blend really well.
Another thing about the whiskey that I observed was typically PX whiskeys can be a lot more sweeter because PX sherry is a lot sweeter style of sherry compared to Oloroso.
Yeah.
But this one, the sweetness is not overpowering. It's like, you get a bit of pepperiness, you get a bit of spiciness, there's a bit of desserty notes, dried fruit notes. All of them are pretty well balanced. It's not an overly sweet whiskey.
Yeah, but actually that changed after adding water. Without the water, it was very sweet forward.
Also, I think one of the things that we should mention for our audience is how this whiskey is different from the Indri Trini, which is the core whiskey that they had.
Yes.
So, while this whiskey won the award, and even Indri Trini, which is the core expression from the distillery, has won multiple awards. So, the difference between the two is primarily, first, the Indri Trini is matured in 3 different casks, ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, PX and ex-wine cask. This is only matured in PX Sherry Casks. Second is, while this one is bottled at a much higher ABV, obviously if you've bought it in Gurgaon, it's at 50% ABV, but globally it's closer to 60% ABV. Indri Trini, depending upon where or which state you buy in India, is either 42.8% or 46% ABV. And obviously, it's far more widely available. It's not a limited release. This was a limited release.
And there's one very big difference that you've missed out.
Yeah.
Indri Trini is available between 3,500 to maybe 5,500, 6,000.
Yeah, Maharashtra would be the most expensive, 6,000 bucks, I guess.
And this is now available at 1 lakh rupees in Gurgaon.
What do you think about the finish on the whiskey?
The finish is actually quite complex. There are some sweet notes. Of course, there is smokiness.
Yeah.
It's quite long
Yeah.
and lingering. And there is that nuttiness, that
Okay.
waxy texture.
Yeah.
I think that stays in the mouth for a while.
I think for me, the finish is obviously there is that peat smoke that you get. There is a bit of spiciness. I'm
Right.
getting a bit of cinnamon and clove sort of on the
Okay.
finish. And with that desserty dried fruit sort of notes as well coming through the finish. Again, very long finish.
Yes.
Very long finish. So, I just wanted to ask a question to you, Swati. When Indri Trini was launched 2 years ago, around February, March of 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we again, we were working with them on their social media campaign back then
Yes.
and a couple of events as well. Did you, and like over last 2 years, what has happened is, I think thanks to the award that they won,
Yeah.
Indri has sort of become the poster boy of Indian single malt.
Yes.
And it has stolen the march on existing players which were already there and bigger in the market,
Right.
So, you come from an extensive FMCG marketing background.
Yeah.
What do you think Indri did right that, like, in span of 2 years,
Yeah.
they've sort of taken the lead in this category where players that were present in the Indian single malt were there already for about good 10, 12 years?
I would say they've gotten their basics right.
Okay.
First things first, they got a very good quality product at the right price.
Yeah.
So the consumer was willing to pay that price for that product. Second, I think it's a very textbook approach. They built their depth and width of distribution. So they made sure that it was available in as many markets as possible. From their marketing strategy perspective, I think they work with the right set of key opinion leaders in the market to generate awareness about Indri. Their limited edition release award, I think it's possibly one of the best ways of marketing your product. They got an award and they made sure that everyone in the world knew that they got the award.
Yeah.
So that also helped them. And I think what Indri is trying to do differently is they are actually trying to reach out to the younger audience.
Right.
I think some of the Indian brands are still very, very comfortable targeting the 50 years older.
Agree.
But I think Indri is doing very relevant collaborations.
Yeah.
Even the House of Dragon collaboration that they've done is wonderful. So I think they are trying to reach out to the audience, and it just has a very youthful
Which
appeal.
is a much bigger market and a much more experimental market.
And that's the target audience that's going to grow later and spend more money on whiskies, right?
Agreed.
So I think they've just been able to execute. Everyone knows these strategies.
Right.
I think, but they've gone 100% right in getting their execution flawless.
Right. Great. After that, all that marketing gyan, oh God, I zoned out. I zoned out for most of it. So anyways, how would you rate the whiskey?
I think it's a solid 9.
Yeah.
It's definitely a very good whiskey. And a lot of times we think that, these awards mean nothing, or it's just another gimmick. But I think now I know it won the best whiskey in the show, and for all the right reasons, because it's actually a good whiskey.
So as you can see, again, I have finished the entire whiskey in the tasting. Not a single drop is getting wasted here, and it deserves a much higher rating just based on that.
Yeah.
I think for me, 8.5. It's a really good whiskey. It offers a lot of complexity, a very diverse and complex flavor profile. And when I talk about complexity, the whiskey has layers. If you go back to the whiskey, every 5 minutes, you will discover a new flavor profile coming through. So a top-notch whiskey, obviously not worth 1 lakh, definitely not worth 1 lakh, but then you can't blame the brand because it's not their fault. It's like when in Gurgaon, there is no concept of MRP.
Yeah.
So retailers have been jacking up the prices for no reason. Fabulous whiskey, not worth 1 lakh for sure at the price at which we are selling in Gurgaon. But nevertheless, great whiskey.
Yeah. The only problem I have is it's a limited edition.
And that one bottle that we have, we managed to get hands on. We've just opened it.
Yes. So that was our quick review of this Indri Diwali limited edition release from 2023. Let us know in the comments below if you've tried this whiskey and what do you think about it. Also, do not forget to tell us what price you bought it at. Thank you for watching this video till the end. Please do not forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Cheers.